Trying to recover from a broken down heart. It's so hard starting over, fighting your way in the dark. Memories of you haunt me every second of the day. They keep yelling at me in the silence they portray. Screaming in the night, wakes me up from my sleep. My eyes are soaking wet from all the tears that I weep. When you coming home is a question on my mind, but you never answer me, ignoring me.
Here are some interior O-linemen who are climbing up draft boards. Number 77, Keelan Rutledge, can clear running lanes that lead to pay dirt.
Now up the middle.
First team All-ACC each of the past 2 years, and you can see why. Florida center Jake Slaughter is also a back-to-back All-Conference honoree. The two-time team captain knows how to strain through his blocks. Another SEC center turning heads, Auburn's Connor Lew. The former wrestler flashes strong hands to win his one-on-one. The biggest of this bunch is Jennings Dunker. Iowa's right tackle is likely to move inside to guard at the next level. And speaking of next level, Dunker's red mullet made waves at his pro day. And a showstopper at the Combine, Emmanuel Pregnon. The first-team All-American has long arms and 51 starts to his name. He has the experience to be a day-one starter in the NFL.
This way. All the way, all the way.
Chase Basantis also dominated the drills, running the 40 in 5 seconds and flashing sound footwork.
Yeah.
All 6 O-linemen bring their own secret sauce to contribute in the big leagues.
Jordan played, really, really good football, some of his best football, especially down the stretch. I actually thought he was one of our guys that played very, very well down the stretch.
Left side, David Lee, touchdown!
Continues to be an unbelievable leader for our football team. Couldn't speak more highly of what I think about Jordan and where he's headed. And as good as he's been for us, I do think he'll continue to get better because it's important to him. He works at his craft. He's always looking for another edge. So I feel really good about that.
And a beneficiary of QB1's late season success, first-rounder Matthew Golden.
Matthew did an excellent job throughout the season. Whenever he got his opportunities, he capitalized on them.
Touchdown, Matthew Golden!
When you go through tough times and maybe you're not getting as many opportunities as you want, that's going to be frustrating. But I thought he handled it like a pro, and when his number was called on, he performed. And really excited to see what he can do in year 2.
Safety A.J. Halsey has a nose for the football.
Picked off, coming back the other way. Halsey!
The 215-pound enforcer packs a punch and has elite instincts. The same can be said for Genesis Smith and his 5 INTs. At 6'2", he's the biggest of this bunch and plays with an edge. Kamari Ramsey is another guy who arrives in a bad mood. Number 7 can diagnose plays and derail them. And just like the other 2 safeties, he can take the ball away.
And intercepted! What a play by Kamari Ramsey!
For a tight end, he's different than a lot of other tight ends in the league.
His mindset going into a game, wanting to destroy his opponents every single time he's out on the field.
He's got it! It's Tucker Kraft!
Not a lot of guys can catch the ball, run after the catch. Not only that, block as well as he does.
Tucker Kraft! Wow!
Party at Tucker Kraft's is a great way to explain just his mindset when he gets the ball.
And he have fun with the game, even if he gets tackled, he gets back up in a different way. I don't know what you call it, but he jumped off his back.
All the way to the end zone for the touchdown!
You can never forget to have fun with it. That's one thing Tucker always do. He have fun with the game.
3 is a party, and Clemson DN TJ Parker has reason to celebrate. Number 3 doesn't just get to the quarterback, he decleats him, utilizing 4.6 speed to get a running head start.
Ball popped down. TJ Parker crashing the pocket.
Another Tiger who can get home, Missouri's Zion Young. The 6'6" enforcer lives in the backfield and is coming off a breakout year. The same can be said for Illinois' Gabe Akins, who last season led the Big Ten with 11 sacks.
Strip sack, Gabe Akins.
And if you need a high upside run stopper, take the over on LT Overton. With long arms and aggressive hands, LT is a problem.
Take it down.
But all these defensive ends are a handful because they don't just make plays, they blow them up.
I really like the guys we brought in.
Let's eat. Let's go. Come on. Win on three. 1, 2, 3.
I'm really excited to see how the new guys coming from where they came from and what we know about them so far, how they fit in with our squad. And then obviously we have a full draft and a lot of months to go before we get there. So I think we're all kind of, eager to get to the start of it and start working with these guys. But a lot of work to do before we get there.
That's Brian Gutekunst with high praise for the newest Packers, while Matt LaFleur is excited to see what some of those guys can do under new defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon.
The guy knows football. He's got a passion for football. He's done it at a high level. What he did in Philly was pretty remarkable. I mean, getting him to the Super Bowl. And I love the experience that he has as not only a play caller, but as a head coach as well. Somebody that, I'll be able to bounce things off of from time to time.
Hey everybody, Packers President and CEO Ed Pousley joined us from the league meetings. And Ed, as I understand it, growing up, you came to these things. What's it like to return as the Packers President and CEO?
Well, thanks, Lee. Well, first off, it's great to be with you down here in Arizona. And yeah, I've been coming to these for quite some time. I think my first one was actually at this very resort. I remember when I was about 11 years old, my father was working for the 49ers back then. I was kind of shushed away from the pool because my father and Bill Walsh were in a heated discussion using some language that I think my mother didn't want me to hear.
You have your football leadership, Brian, Matt, and Russ, in place for the foreseeable future. Is that a comforting thought as you move forward?
Yeah, it sure is. I couldn't be happier and I couldn't be more confident about the three people that we have in place. I've known Russ Ball for over 25 years, I think. He and I worked together at the Arena Football League. I've worked with Brian now for 14 years and was part of bringing Matt in 7 years ago. So I couldn't be more confident in him. Really excited about the future with all three of those guys.
I've seen where building on and maintaining your presence in the league is one of your priorities. Is that already happening?
It is, and things like these annual meetings are critical to really build that, I would say. By way of example, I now sit on many of the business and policy setting committees that the league has. And I'm really excited because for the first time our head coach sits on the head coach's sub-advisory committee, and our GM sits on the GMAC, which is the GM advisory committee. So I think the Packers have more of a voice than ever at these meetings.
Now, you were part of a number of votes this morning. Anything out of that you would consider the headline act?
Maybe the headline is that it's nowhere near as dramatic as it was last year. If you remember, we had a lot of discussion about the tush push, and I'm glad that we're not talking about that this year. I think there's an interesting tweak to the New York kickoff rule. Now, any team can declare an onside kick at any point in the game. Last year, it was just you had to be the losing team, and it had to be in the fourth quarter.
During your informal session with the local media guys yesterday, you made a point of saying and emphasizing the fact the Packers are in great shape right now, but you have to approach things, and I love the phrase, with a healthy paranoia. Could you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. Well, yeah, it starts with recognizing the fact that the Packers are an extreme anomaly. We're one of one. There's nothing else like us given our unique ownership structure, and we do have to compete with the rest of the other 31 teams in the NFL. And they have access to money and capital that the Packers don't have in a few forms. Obviously, they're owned by very wealthy owners, and a few, more recent dynamics. They have access to private equity money, and not just private equity, but just more limited partners buying minority interest in their team. So any other team now can raise hundreds of millions of dollars by simply selling non-controlling limited partnerships in their team and again, giving up equity, but certainly not giving up any control. You've also seen an increase in the amount of public money being invested into stadiums across the country and in other markets. We don't have access to that right now. So with all of that, the fact that we've got to have a really successful business off the field to be able to compete on the field with all those other teams, we just have to be really smart, really forward-looking, and on top of some of these trends.
Ed, moving forward, is there a biggest challenge on the horizon for the Green Bay Packers?
I would say it's competition. The NFL has never been more competitive, both on and off the field. You saw the games last year were closer than they've ever been. It feels like so many of the teams are just kind of bunched together. The parity's never been better than it is. I think the championship belongs to anybody next year, which means it belongs to us. We've just got to reach out and take it.
Touchdown, Green Bay Packers!
Hey everybody, Brian Gutekunst joins us from the league meetings. And Brian, for you, what's the most productive part, the formal meetings or the informal stuff with your colleagues from around the league?
Yeah, they're both important, but I think catching up with colleagues even through the league is important, and so but it's all important. It's all stuff that we need to be aware of, and a lot of things that are talked about here. There'll be continued conversations, but it's been a good couple days so far.
Draft coming up in about a month. Where are you at in that process?
We're kind of in the middle of what we call phase 3, and we're in pretty good shape. Feel really good about where we are with the board, and our guys are just getting off the road a little bit now. There's a few pro days left. We're finishing up. It'll be good next week to get it back in the fold and start going through all the things that they've gathered over the last 3-4 weeks.
At the Combine, you said it's all about, everything we do is about winning now. How good does this draft have to be to have an impact in that regard?
Well, certainly all these guys that when we were drafting, we're looking at it as a long-term investment. But we also are all expecting them to play their role and do their job if called upon in those early years. So this class will be like any other. We're going to ask a lot of them, and we'll be excited to have them. But whether they come out of the chutes and have a really good rookie year, or whether maybe it takes them a little bit of time to become the players that they're going to become, we're good either way.
I want to ask you about some of the additions you've already made. Just a quick thumbnail sketch of what attracted you to him. Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, obviously a really good player in this league for a long time, Pro Bowl player. I really like his all-around game. He can play the run, he can rush the passer. He's an explosively strong human being. And again, anytime you can find players in there that can affect the passer as well, those guys are hard to find.
Zaire Franklin.
Obviously, a Pro Bowl type player. He's been a starter and inside linebacker for 6 years. Someone who we had our eye on early when he was a special teams backup type player. Not only the player that he is, but the leadership he brings is something we were attracted us to him.
Benjamin St. Juice.
Length. He's got really good size. I think he had his best year last year so far of his young career, and we think his best football's ahead of him.
One more, Sky Moore. Should add some juice to the return game, but possibly more.
Yeah, last year was the first year where he really had both the kick and punt return roles exclusively. Did an excellent job. Was very explosive, very, very tough to take down by the first tackler. And I do think is on offense, once Matt and that staff gets to know him, I think there'll be some opportunities there as well.
Brian, are you especially excited about the second years for fellows like Matthew Golden and Anthony Belton, the big man?
Yeah, both those guys, and the opportunities that they were given last year, I think did an extraordinary job in year one. At the end of the year, I think everybody could see we probably needed to give Matthew the ball more because he was very explosive and made so many plays when we did. And Anthony, obviously he was a tackle in college. We moved him inside. Really proud of the way he battled through things, and he gives us a little bit of size and power in there that we were looking for.
Did you see enough of Barron Sorrell and Colin Oliver last season to know what you got in those players?
Certainly Barron, we did a really nice job in the snaps that he was given, and certainly there's going to be a lot more opportunities for him, I think, this year, just with the way our roster starts to shake out. And then Colin was one of those players, wasn't sure we were going to be able to get him onto the roster to play. As the season went, we got him in the last game, and his speed showed up in that game. So both those players are young, promising players. Best football is going to be ahead of them, and they're going to get more opportunities this year.
10-5, touchdown!
You guys played a lot of real good ball last year, but at the end, couldn't finish games you seemingly had in control. Have you figured that one out now that you've had a few months to reflect?
Well, I think it's going to be something that our organization and team as a whole figures out as we go into this season, right? Everything starts anew, right? And so we haven't even had a practice yet, but I do think it's one of those things we've spent a lot of time on. But ultimately, it's going to be the work that our players put in with our coaches that get to that point. And I think a lot of it, too, is confidence, right? A lot of it is having the confidence to do that in those situations. So we're at the very beginning. Nothing's started yet, but we're excited to get going.
Hey everybody, head coach Matt LaFleur joined us from the league meetings. And Matt, what's it like to have your brother Mike here as a fellow head coach?
It's pretty surreal. It's a pretty cool experience. I'm looking forward to being around him and some of the other coaches and make sure we give him a hard time once we all get together.
Back home, a number of changes on your coaching staff. Jonathan Gannon, your new defensive coordinator, when he was hired, there's a lot of talk. Is he a 4-3 guy? Is he a 3-4 guy? In today's game, Matt, does it really matter?
I don't think it does. I think it's about our players and trying to put them in the best position possible. I think, Halfley was a 4-down guy, and we got to a bunch of 3-4 type principles in our base defense. I mean, the majority of the game nowadays is played with your nickel defense out there, which is primarily a 4-man front. But, then again, you can get into odd spacing in some of those 3-4 structures out of nickel defense. So I would say it's fluid in terms of, how we're going to build this in.
Jordan Morgan, is he ready to take over at the hot corner full-time?
Yeah, I think so. I think last year, and everybody gets sick of me saying it, but we're trying to get the best 5 out there, and we thought for our team it was best to go with Rashid and put him at guard, but it wasn't necessarily as they were competing for that spot. We would have been perfectly comfortable with Jordan at left tackle. It was just trying to find the best 5 that fit together.
Your past couple months, you've had a chance to go through the cut-ups, look back at last season. What are you taking away? What are you gleaning from that?
Well, I think there was a lot of opportunity there that we didn't capitalize on, and I think that's got to be the mindset coming in, is we got to figure out ways to finish games and just be productive in those critical moments. I think when you look at it, it's kind of bizarre, but like 3 games where we don't punt on offense and we lose all 3 of those games. Like, that can't happen, and we got to be better, and it starts with us as coaches, and then ultimately our players got to go out there and execute.
A couple of those players, Micah Parsons, Tucker Kraft, big-time guys, how are they progressing health-wise?
They're doing a great job. I think they're both putting in the work. They've attacked this thing with the right mindset. I think our trainers have done a hell of a job with them. That'll be a huge boost for our football team when we get those guys back and they're healthy and ready to go.
Matt, have a good couple days. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Hey everybody, it's 2 guys with 3 things from the league meeting in Phoenix, Arizona. And I think we're looking at a condo made of stone. Wes, you're up.
Yeah, how's it going, Larry? We had a pleasure this morning of speaking not only with Matt LaFleur, but also Brian Gutekunst as the Packers start to set their vision for the 2026 season. And LaFleur said it at the NFC Coaches Breakfast. One of the main points of emphasis for Green Bay this offseason is finishing games better. The Packers had so many instances last season where they got off to good starts, but weren't able to finish it down the stretch, obviously ending in that loss to the Chicago Bears. That has been something him and the coaching staff have talked about, and really looking at him coming now as the 8th year in his tenure as head coach, the things that he can do differently, how he can reinvent himself and taking a fresh look at the offense, all things that are on the table right now for the Packers as they try to get over the hump in 2026.
As I'm sure you've noticed, there's always a theme of the meeting. And a couple of years ago, it was international games. Then it was flag football the following year. And this year, it seems to be AI. And you look at all the applications in football with all the numbers and all the variables and all the bodies It's kind of fascinating and scary in a way. So I took it upon myself to ask Matt LaFleur if he could see AI calling plays for him. He said absolutely not. And I asked Brian Gutekunst about using AI to make a draft pick, and he said absolutely not. So I don't know where this is supposed to end, but it ends right there. Weston.
Absolutely. Well, hey, let's get back to actual game of football, right? The thing that truly on the field matters most. Packers made some really interesting additions to this roster this offseason. Javon Hargrave coming in at defensive tackle, but Zaire Franklin is a name that we keep hearing more and more about. They executed the trade with Indianapolis to bring him in, obviously taking over that middle linebacker position from Quay Walker, in addition to getting a guy that is a former NFL Man of the Year nominee, a guy that's a team captain, a Pro Bowl player. What he's going to bring inside that Packers locker room. It's been the youngest team in the NFL 3 straight years in a row. Zaire Franklin's the guy, I think, when you talk about this team improving next season, under Jonathan Gannon in that defense, he's going to be one to watch.
He's also a thumper.
Absolutely.
And that's 2 guys with 3 things. See you next time.
Wakes me up from my sleep. My eyes are soaking wet from all the tears that I weep. When you're coming home is the question on my mind.